Hello. This video is going to be a little different than some other ones that I have on this channel. I'm still kind of figuring out this channel, and I don't know, for the most part all the videos that I've made have been for me to kind of record my memories, my experiences, my travels, and it's awesome that other people are watching them. I mean, I'm super stoked on it. But I'm kind of in between trips right now, and so the last big trip that I did was to Puerto Rico. Next month, which will be April, I'm going to be going to Guatemala. And I thought that this might be a good opportunity to kind of just talk about how I afford to travel. Some other trips that I have tentatively planned this year are going to be, I want to do a road trip up to Wisconsin to see my family, another solo trip kind of like I did with Aruba, and I haven't really nailed down where I want to go yet. I'm thinking Portugal is an option, Panama is an option. I don't know, we'll see. I haven't done a ton of research. And I really want to go to Egypt for my birthday in September, and I would really like to go to Vietnam. So that being said, how? How do I afford to do all these things? Honestly, like, the biggest way that I can afford to do these things is by working. I have been working since I was 15, busing, serving as a cashier and cashier manager. I also helped run deliveries when we were short on drivers. Would help the kitchen with prep, like redecorating, do bartender, and all the ordering for the bar. Took it upon myself to learn how to write menus, the marketing. I learned how to plate desserts. I sold cell phones for a little bit. Was not my favorite. Point being, I've always been a really hard worker, and I've always really liked to work, and have always wanted to not just do my job, but take on as many additional responsibilities as possible. My current job is, I look naked right now. Okay, I'm not naked. My current job is, I got a degree in accounting, and I currently work at a local audit and tax firm. Been there for 5.5 years, going on 6 years. They are very flexible with travel, which is awesome. But yeah, so that's kind of like the first thing is, how do I travel often? I work really hard. I also pet sit, which is what I'm doing right now. This is not my house. I do not live here. But I love coming out here, and I've at this point established a kind of regular clientele. I have people that call me, once every couple months to come and pet sit and house sit for them. So this has been a really lucrative side gig. Typically I bring in probably like $400 a month extra. Yeah, so I mean, that right there is kind of like my travel money. I also do some photography, which doesn't bring in near as much, and it's not as consistent, but I mean, I love to do it, and typically the gigs will pay between like 50 to $100 for like an hour-long shoot. And depending upon where I'm going, I mean, it's usually a beautiful location. It's usually working with fantastic people. I will sit down after the shoot with like a glass of wine and edit. Like, it's a decent side gig. It's just not as consistent, unfortunately. So that's kind of tip number one, is if you are wanting to travel more, you gotta afford it somehow. And so finding not only, a regular job that will bring you consistent income, and that can be anything from, for me, a 9 to 5 has been what I've, been doing for the past 5.5 years, but bartending and serving, you can definitely still very much like travel on that kind of income, and you have the option of also having way more flexibility, so you can usually find a lot better deals. Later on, I'll talk about kind of like how I budget my time with traveling, but one of the downsides is that I do tend to travel during periods where other people travel, so it can be a little bit more expensive with ticket prices. The great thing about working in a kind of, service-based industry is that you have a lot more flexibility with your time. With my accounting degree, I worked full time while I was in school. It took me close to 8 years to get my degree. There were some semesters where I would do 1 or 2 classes. There were some semesters that I did 15 hours, and those were absolute hell, and I would not wish those semesters upon my worst enemy. But, even when I was in school, so kind of brings me to number two. Um, Tweak your travel. Like when I was in school, I was not going to Thailand. I wasn't going to Spain. Like I wasn't going to any of these places that, number one, I need more time off. And number two, are more expensive. I was going to music festivals that I could drive to, or going to state parks, or, found a really cheap cruise that I did with some friends, or, would go up to the mountains for a weekend. Like, you can still travel and do so in a way that isn't going to break the bank and still allows you to see and experience new things. So for me, the big thing is have a stable job, have a stable source of income, make sure your bills are paid, and also get some side gigs going that will allow you to have extra fun money. I mean, I look at my pet sitting and my photography as my travel money. Like that's how I'm funding my travel. So that kind of ties into the next thing of, yes, it's awesome to have stable income, and finding a side gig that is, this is pretty much, I don't want to say as easy as it gets, because I have had some gigs that interesting things happen. Literally yesterday, one of the cats here brought a bird in, so it was like 20 minutes of me chasing a bird through the house trying to get the damn thing out of here. But I mean, overall, snuggling with some cute creatures and just kind of hanging by a pool, it ain't bad. Making money is cool. Not spending money is really cool. And if you can do both of those things, that's kind of like the best, and the best way to maximize your current resources. I've been working for years to become kind of as minimalistic as possible. So, for me, I think about every single dollar that I spend before I spend it. And I don't just buy random shit because I want to buy random shit. Like, you would be so surprised at how much money that you spend on stupid stuff that just ends up collecting dust or just sits in a drawer somewhere. Like, I really do think, especially when it comes to materialistic stuff, do I need this or do I want this? Other ways that I really save a ton of money is, number one, buying secondhand. I don't remember the last time I bought anything new when it came to clothing. I'll usually, earrings are a big thing for me. Like when I am traveling, I do love to go to local jewelry makers and get earrings from them, because it's really the only jewelry that I wear. But besides that, all of my clothes are secondhand. And I don't buy clothes unless I need clothes. I have a certain amount of hangers in my closet allotted for clothes, and if all of those are filled up, I just don't buy new stuff. Cooking at home, it really does save you a shit ton of money. I also maintain a monthly budget with Google Sheets, and I think I'm gonna do a separate video on this. I was gonna try and wrap it into this video, but I kind of wanted to do just a broad overview with this video. So look forward to that. But yeah, I track all of my expenses and all of my income with Google Sheets, and it's really easy to be able to update that whenever I need to. So again, just broad overview. With Google Sheets, I put all of my expenses down and figure out how much money I need each month, and my money first goes towards that. At least me personally, if I'm not paying my bills, then I don't want to travel, because it just creates a more stressful situation for me. There are just a lot of things too that, because in our house we have become so minimalistic at this point and have become really environmental, that there's things that we don't buy anymore. So, for example, paper towels. I haven't bought paper towels in years. I use napkins that I got at Goodwill, like cloth napkins that are reusable. And for cleaning, I just use old t shirts or, towels. Other things, we don't buy garbage bags in our house. There's like a box at work for people to put their plastic bags in, and I just take those home and I use those as my garbage bags. A lot of our cleaning products, I use the Dr. Bronner's like 20, what is it, 24, 12 uses, whatever. The liquid soap that has a shit ton of uses. I use that as my main cleaning product. So you just take, maybe like a teaspoon of that and some water in an old water bottle or in an old squirt bottle that I repurposed, and that's our cleaning products for like 90% of what we need in the house. I use a bar shampoo as well as face soap and body soap, and I cannot believe that I did not get on this sooner, because the bar shampoo lasts probably 3 times longer than liquid shampoo. Liquid shampoo is basically just water. You are paying for plastic and water, and it's way more expensive. My bar shampoo is, I think, $6 for a bar, and same with my face soap. Makeup, I buy what I need, and I buy things as I use them versus, like if I need powder, I'll buy some new powder. Or if I need mascara, I'll buy mascara. But I'm not going and just having a ton of makeup that I barely ever use, because every single thing that I look at when I look around the house, every material thing in that house, I see as time. And I see as travel that I could have had. When you really start thinking about possessions as like time wasted, or not wasted, but time used in order to acquire that resource versus just seeing it as a thing that you have, you really do start focusing on how much money that you're spending on these things. For me, I want to see the world. I want to experience as many new places, cultures, foods. Like, that's what I want to do with my life. And I'm not going to ever get to that goal by being materialistic. I think I want to do like a whole separate video on this, but just a couple other things. We don't buy, water bottles. I drink tap water. And, for food storage, we don't have any single-use food storage like plastic wrap or aluminum foil. Like, I put everything in reusable containers or wrap it in beeswax. We don't really spend a lot of money on single-use items, and that shit adds up. So, like, going back to kind of like the whole point of this, like, I guess the way that I am able to travel as often as I do is I see every single decision that I make as either something that's going to allow me to travel more or is going to inhibit me traveling more. For me, traveling is kind of like a job at this point, because I do think about it constantly. So the biggest takeaways here is, if you want to travel more, you got to make money. And if you already have that stable income source, can you maybe pick up a side hustle or two to just have that little bit of extra that will allow you to travel just a little bit more? If you can't earn more money, can you spend less? And really, really, really take inventory on what you're spending your money on and whether or not those things really matter at the end of the day. Part 2 of this series is going to be me talking about how I use my credit card in a way that is positive, and kind of just like the travel benefits that I get from my card, as well as talking about how I get awesome travel deals, how I decide on where to go, a whole bunch of kind of related content. So if you enjoyed this video, I know it was a little bit all over the place. I'm wanting to maybe have this be like a whole separate series that I do where I talk a little bit more in depth about some of the things that I discussed today. So if anything interested you, or if there's anything that you want to maybe have me discuss in more detail or a little bit further, please let me know in the comments. Subscribing to this channel would be awesome. It would be so appreciated. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I also don't know if I actually introduced myself at the beginning of this. If I didn't, hi, I'm Kathy, and it is very nice to meet you.